everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Kira Cloud Hub, and today we have Raji back. So if you have ever wondered if your AWS setup is secure, as it could be, or you've been just thinking how you're supposed to protect your sensitive data in the cloud environment without overcomplicating things. Yeah, that's why we have Raji here today. So today we'll be diving into some AWS security essentials, but this time with the help of GenAI, just to figure out how to, optimize our policies, how to make some advanced queries with the help of GenAI. So whether you are new to the cloud or you have some experience to the cloud, a cloud architect, developer, you're just AWS curious. So we'll just be covering everything, how to set up least privilege principles, incident response, all while leveraging AI just to streamline all these tasks. And yes, we'll do some demos too, hopefully, along the way. I'll also be asking some questions just to get you thinking about your own AWS security practices. So stick around, and by the end of this video, hope you'll have learned something, how to leverage AI to level up your AWS security posture. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put some comments on the comment section if you like something. Yeah, and over to you, Raji. Let's dive in.
Thank you, Pauline. It's nice to be here again, and today it's going to be an exciting topic on how we can leverage Gen AI for our day-to-day life in cloud security. So we do spend good amount of time in creating policies or scanning code or writing documents. Much of those activities can be fastened with GenAI. So before I dive in, let me also talk about uh, what are the various use cases or what are the various scope in which GenAI can be used, starting from the human layer where you have to train people. GenAI becomes very useful, be it creating training materials or be it creating images or videos or content. So it's a great tool to create content, right? So in security training, we can use GenAI. Next comes the perimeter security. So here, one example of perimeter security is setting up the rules in firewalls. Now, what rules can you set? Which will be the most optimal rule? All these decision making and also the very configuration, the process of configuring all of these. If you want to automate or if you want some recommendations around the best rules, you can use GenAI. And in network security, so for example, if you take the AWS world, we have security groups and we have NACL. So in security groups, we configure for ports, right, inbound and outbound rules. So if you want recommendations or if you want to troubleshoot, you can use GenAI. Or even for things like you give a set of security group configurations as an input and you want to see which particular configuration is causing an issue, you can use GenAI for troubleshooting as well. In endpoint security, so we would have to come up with, there will be a lot of misconfigurations. So for example, you might have a config and in the config report, there will be n number of compliant and non-compliant resources. Now, if you want to have a collective set of recommendation, if you want to go through every non-compliant resource and come up with a consolidated set of recommendations, it's quite a task to go through every non-compliant row and then come up with recommendation. You can use GenAI to easily reduce the time involved in coming up and documenting these recommendations. In application security, when you have code, manually reading the code and to check whether it is following a best practice is quite a cumbersome task. So GenAI can be leveraged for that as well. Then IAM policies is one great example. Everybody uses IAM and we all write JSON policies. Sometimes we have to troubleshoot a long list of JSON and see where it is going wrong or which line is causing, say, the escalated privilege or what is the reason behind the entire IAM policy. For not working, you can use it. You can use GenAI. Even for writing the IAM policies, you can use, which we are going to see today. And also in the incident response world. So when you want to document or write a playbook, so you can use GenAI. So you can use it like you can decide what is the scenario for which you want to write a playbook, and you give the scenario, you give certain nuances of your playbook. For example, each of us have our own style of writing the playbook. So you can give those details as input to GenAI, and you can get a base document playbook to start with. So it greatly reduces the time we put in. And yes, so today let's see. So first and foremost, and the first use case that we are going to see is the IAM policies. So here, what we are going to do is we are going to start with a very simple IAM policy, wherein we'll use GenAI to write a policy which will allow users to read from a particular S3 bucket. And we'll also introduce some conditions where we will say that the user should be from so and so VPC ID, and the user should be accessing from a particular IP address. Only then the read operation should be allowed, which is what we typically do. So let's see how we can use GenAI. So because this is AWS, I'm going to use Bedrock, and I'll use one of the Amazon models, and I'll show you how these things can be done. So let me move on to my console. Now let's see the first use case, which is on the IAM policy. So you can, I mean, this is a prompt actually. So I'm giving a prompt which says that write an IAM policy that allows users to perform read operations on the S3 bucket, deny write operations unless the user is accessing from a VPC ID, and this is the ID that I have given, and then an IP address. All right, and I'm using the Titan text Premier model of Amazon, and this is the playground. So when you run it, you can see that you get the policy written. Okay, so first it says get object, and it will form the resource ARN for the name of the S3 that you have given. Right? And then we are also talking about denying write operations unless and until a certain condition is met. So it's the effect, it's written another policy called effect deny, and it's given these actions, put object and delete object, which is typically the write operation. And then comes the condition parameter. So here we had talked about a VPC ID, so which is what you see here, and also the IP address, so which is what is written here. So these two are the conditions. Let's see another prompt. Write an S3 bucket policy that denies write operation unless the object is encrypted. So, I mean, often we store sensitive data in S3 bucket. Now, we might want the data to be already encrypted sometimes, or we might want to use the encryption feature of the S3 bucket. And another best practice is also ensuring that the objects which are uploaded to the bucket, they are uploaded over HTTPS, which is a secure connection. Now we can bring in these best practices in the IAM policy in the form of a condition and enforce these best practices so that they are followed at any cost. So now let's run this as a prompt. So this will give you a bucket policy, which you can attach it to your S3 bucket. I have few more examples of bucket policy as well. So one classic example is sometimes many of our some of our S3 buckets could be exposed to other accounts, or they could be accessed by teams who are from another or an external AWS account, and we might want to give them access. So those access could be a write access, and the best practice is to create an IAM role for those users. And in the role, you define what kind of access they should have, and then you create the bucket policy. So it's a very common use case. Now, how do we go about it, right? How do we go about writing the IAM policy? So here is the scenario. My AWS account number is 12345678990. I have a bucket called patient records. I want to allow write access to this bucket from an IAM role called, I have just put some name, belonging to another AWS account. And another, I'm also introducing another conditions, only using MFA, and I'm using yet another condition on the date. So I have given the criteria that unless and until the date is in between these two dates, uh, the users should not be able to write. So let's see how it's drafting the policy. Okay, so here let's go over the policy. So it's created a policy which will allow the IAM role read patient records from the account number 9876. And so this is on the principal, and then the action allowed on this principal is put object, which means this IAM role will have access to upload to the S3 bucket. But these are the conditions. What are the conditions? The first condition is MFA should be there. And then the other condition is on the date. So I had given a date range. So a date less than and a date greater than. All right. Now, when you are not clear on, on what policy to write, or you are just starting from scratch, right? So now you want a list of recommended S3 bucket policies. So you want you want a bucket policy which will have all the set of best practices for S3, but you do not know what they are. All right. So, so what you can do is there is something called conformance pack. So you can go to the AWS conformance pack, which you will have it you will have it enlisted under config rules. So you can see here. So you can see something called operational best practices for Amazon S3. So these best practices are available in GitHub, which is Amazon's GitHub, and you can just simply copy this, and all you need to do is you can feed it to your model, you can feed it to your GenAI model, and it will draft the policy for you. Okay, so this is one way of getting all the policies written as a S3 bucket. So let's do that. So depending on the efficiency of the model, right? Some models can interpret a large chunk of text as this. Some models may not. So let's. So I'm pasting the entire best practice in the chat window, and I'm giving a prompt saying, give me a bucket policy that aligns with all the above best practices. So it has summarized the list of best practices, which is good. And it is also writing, okay, it has written for the first two of them, I guess. So it has summarized as a first step. So block public access setting at the account level. And this is the policy for blocking at the account level. So this is good, where it has given all the conditions. Second is prohibit public ACLs at the bucket level. So this is the condition for prohibiting ACL read. Third one, prohibit public read and write access at the public level. So it has stopped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put here, and I'm going to ask it to write a bucket. So I'm doing it one by one. So I'm taking one best practice, which is prohibit public read and write at the bucket level, and I'm giving it to the LLM, and it's doing a good job. So it is breaking down into two policies, and it will give you the bucket policy for each of those. Similarly, say let's pick one of them. Enable logging for the bucket. So this is a best practice. So once you attach this to your bucket, it means the upload to the bucket will happen only when this condition is true, which means it will grant the right access to the CloudTrail logging, and it will deny the get and the read access unless and until uh, the the secure transport, which is the secured upload. The uploading of to the bucket should be through a secure chat. So unless and until that condition is fulfilled, the get and the put will not happen. So this is how you can use GenAI to quickly write IAM policies, and it's also a great tool for you to learn things faster. The next use case that we are going to see is on config. We all use AWS config to find what changes our resources have gone through over a period of time. And it's a great governance tool. Now, in AWS, the way it works is there are more than 460 config rules, and these are managed rules which are available by default for us. But sometimes we would also need to create a custom rule because we would have specific conditions or a specific need where we want to check for a parameter change, which is quite subjective to our environment. So we might have to write a custom config rule. And a very common way of writing a custom config rule is creating a Lambda function and then attaching the rule to the Lambda function. So if you are clear on what this Lambda function should do, then you don't have to spend time in writing the code for the Lambda function. You can use GenAI to write the base code for you. All right, so what we are going to see today is writing. Now, every Lambda function has something called a function URL, right? And it's important to monitor the security setting of the function URL. So when you expose the Lambda function URL, it's a good practice to have IAM as an authentication for it. So let's write a Lambda function which will monitor for the authentication of a function URL. Create a custom AWS config rule that detects Lambda function URLs with auth type set to none. And I'm also giving the Python library version. Yeah. So it will give you the step-by-step instructions for creating config rule, and also it gives you the code for the Lambda function. So as you can see here, it has instantiated the Lambda class. And then there is this evaluate compliance function, which it has written, where it takes the function name and then it is checking the auth type to be, and checking whether the auth type is none or not. So if the auth type is none, then it means it's not compliant, which means anybody can access the function URL. Otherwise, it is compliant. So this status, whether it is non-compliant or compliant, is something which you will see in the result. So here you will be able to see in the status. So all you need to do is take this code, create a Lambda function, and then attach it as a custom config rule. I had also written the same prompt where I'm giving a screenshot. Okay, so let me bring up the screenshot for you. So if I don't want to give, so this is a example screenshot. Now, if I don't want to, give the condition, I can also have GenAI interpret my screenshot. So I can ask it to read the configurations and accordingly write the Lambda function, where the configurations are translated as conditions. So you don't have to write it in the prompt. You can ask the LLM model to interpret the image and write the Lambda function. So all I have written is write a custom config rule that will detect Lambda functions that are deviating from the configurations as per the attached image.
So if you look at the summary, it talks about the high level steps. So creating a new AWS config. It's actually a custom rule using Lambda function blueprint, and then in the Lambda function code, you use the describe Lambda function API. Now it has actually interpreted the screenshot. So if this is the screenshot. Right. So it has a log format as text. It has a log group as custom, and then there is a custom log group called Lambda logs. So if you see the code that it has generated, it is checking for the log format, the log group name. It has also given the Lambda logs name, and it's also checking whether the format is JSON. So it has not left even a single configuration, right? So it's checking for the format, the log group in these lines. Okay. So only if this condition is true, it will come out as compliant. So this is greatly helpful if you don't want to write each and every condition, or sometimes you could just have the entire configuration already written or set up in some console. You can take a screenshot and feed it to the LLM.
Let's move on to the next use case. Another common activity that we do is investigation. right? So we would have log files which we might have to interpret and parse. Now, one of the common way of doing it is creating Athena tables out of the log files. So there are many ways in which you can use. One is you can create a glue job which can crawl the logs from S3 bucket and create Athena tables. Now, you would have to write a number of queries on the Athena table, and GenAI is something which can greatly reduce the effort you put in writing queries. You can use it for that as well. So, see here, write an Athena query that will list the users who accessed XYZ S3 bucket over the last 90 days, and I want to know the date and time, number of times they accessed each day. Now you should also give the schema of the table so that you get a most accurate query. So I have a sample schema here. So I'm just putting the schema and I run. So here you can see to get the desired result. So this is the select query that it has written. Select access date, user, operation, sum from user access table, group by access date, user, order by access date, user ARN and operation. So once you give the schema of your table, you will get the exact query with the column names so that you don't have to worry about it. And you can take this query and execute in the Athena. So let's see another use case. This is again a very useful use case, and we often this is part of our day-to-day activity, scanning code for vulnerabilities. And I'm sure we spend a lot of time, and it's quite monotonous to read through the code. So you can use GenAI for finding out the vulnerabilities, and also not only that, it will also write the code for you, rewrite the code for you, and ensure that there are no vulnerabilities in terms of deviating from the best practice. So I have a Python code here. So if you see here, there is a Lambda. This is a Lambda function, and it is fetching certain parameters from the event object. The best practice would be to check for null or for empty in the parameters, but it's not doing that. And a very common mistake that we see is developers hard code the access key secret key, which is a big no from the security best practice point of view. The other is not doing any error handling. So this is also not a good way of coding. So I have these vulnerabilities, and let's see, I give a prompt, simple prompt saying scan this code for vulnerability. Okay, so it has listed down what is wrong, right? And it is also given the best practice. So for example, it says that there is inadequate input validation. So it says that the input parameters are not validated, which could lead to SQL injection. And it has given an alternate way of writing it. Similarly, hard-coded credentials, right? So it has given what is the right way of accessing the credentials. And then error handling. So in the put object line, it has pointed out saying that there is no error handling, and there is no file validation. Now I can ask the LLM to also rewrite and improvise the same code. I can say improvise the above code. So I give an erroneous code and I ask it to give me a good improved code. So it is rewriting the code and giving me where all the best practices are um, already incorporated. So you can see here it has validated the input parameters, and it has put it in a try return block so that there is error handling. So it has put the exception block here and also throwing the error. Right. So it has ensured that the code is rewritten and it's following the best practice. Okay. So next is the final use case that I have is this again a scenario, a use case where we spend a lot of time, and it's basically documentation, but you should also know, you should be clear on the subject as well. So this is about writing the incident response playbook. Now, in the incident response playbook, there are hundreds of scenarios, right? And for each of the scenario, you have to document the playbook, which should have very clear instructions. And each team follows their own style of writing a playbook. So what I have done is I have given a sample playbook template. So this is the template that I have created. And these are the sections which I have taken from the AWS Security Incident Response white paper. And I have put these as subheadings in the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a scenario to the LLM, and I'm going to ask it to fill this document and give to me a base document from which I can get started. So it's not that it will give me the complete playbook that I need, because we would have to do one round of customization on top. So you cannot just blindly take the playbook, but it will give you a playbook good enough to start with. So let's see that. Now I'm giving a scenario. Help me create an incident response playbook for an AWS environment. Scenario is security team finds that one of their RDS database table has been compromised. It has been deleted, and the team finds a new table called Give Me Ransom that has a row asking for ransom money. Template for the response playbook is attached. So let me attach the template. And run.
The LLM has started giving the response. So it is expanding each section. So if you look at the document, I had given acquire, preserve, document evidence for the scenario where a database is corrupted. So if you look at it, if you look at the first part, okay, let it finish. Okay, so if you look at the first part, acquire, preserve, document evidence, it has given high level steps as to what you should do. First, you should take a snapshot, then you should enable CloudTrail, and then collect the relevant logs and document all actions and evidences collected. Now, you can also further break down this step. You can simply give a prompt. I want to create step-by-step instructions for the below activity in my AWS account. So the incident response team need not necessarily know what a snapshot involves, right? So you can further break down each activity and give a step-by-step instruction so that it becomes easier for the incident response team to pick up and then follow the instructions clearly. So this is how you can keep building your document, and of course you have to further customize it for your environment. For instance, you now signing in into the console could be different for different teams. So you can give in the process which is followed in your team. Now, similarly, identifying the RDS instance. So there could be a certain region where you are maintaining an RDS instance, or there could be a certain account. So you can give those details, and that's how you slowly build the document. But as you can see, the effort involved in creating the document from ground will greatly reduce once you have these skeleton lines to start with.
That was on the use cases. As I said, this is just the starting. There are many more opportunities of using GenAI. Maybe in a future series, we will see a lot more use cases. And please do share how you are using GenAI for cloud security. Share in the comment section. We would love to hear from you. Over to you, Paul.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raji. On my end, I was learning a lot, and I was able to view just the future of security basically with GenAI, how it's being made easier. I feel like now these incident responses also can be very fast, and they can handle all security measures really quick with the help of GenAI. My only thing I was wondering is, oh, I don't know, what advice do you have for, future security engineers? What should they focus on, basically?
I'm not sure of the advice part. I'm still learning. But what I feel is important is to be strong on basics, right? So first and foremost, get the concepts of secure cyber security, right? And then pick up the AWS cloud security terminologies and concepts. And it's very important to be hands-on in writing code, either Python coding or scripting, because we cannot survive with just configuration skills. Coding and scripting, it gives us the power to build things, which is important in the security world as well. And yeah, so that's what I would stress upon.
Okay, let's get the basics right. Some of us will just say, okay, if I can write the policies with GenAI, then you don't need to understand how it's working. But thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
GenAI gives you a starting point, but yeah, it reduces the time to pick up something, but you shouldn't rely on it completely. So you cannot, take the code given by an LLM and put it in production. That doesn't work that way. So if we had spent, say, 5 days earlier, now you would need a 2 day effort or a 3 day effort. So the time will definitely reduce, but you cannot rely completely on it and do your day-to-day activities. You should have put some intelligence on the top and then execute it.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Raji. It's always nice to have you around. So, yeah, on to the next. Not sure what the next topic will be, but hopefully we'll see you around again. Thank you. And
Thank
for
you.
the viewers, bye bye. See you in the next
Bye.
one.
See you.